Part 7, Navigating the Electronic Medical Record or Finding What You've Charted. This last video will be on finding items documented or resulted in the Enterprise Medical Record or EMR. No changes can be made there, and it includes anything that's been documented and saved or filed, all the lab results, imaging results, physician's notes, other healthcare team member notes, etc. So we're going to click on that EMR button, and it's going to end up taking you within the EMR, and you can see at the top that that's where we are. We're still looking at Phil Tester, and we come first to the summary list. While you're in the EMR and anywhere in Meditech, whatever is lit up white tells you where you are. If it's a dark blue font, that means there's things you can view in that area. If it is grayed out, that means there's things either not available for you to view or the item is not turned on. And if you were to see red font, there would be items that are new and you haven't viewed yet. Right now we're in the summary list. It gives you some information about your patient, about the problems, about what's active medication-wise, what home meds the patient's on. If there are growth charts for your patient, you can click on the eye next to growth chart, and you can then look at whatever you want to see, wait for length. You can either cancel or X out of that. And that's probably the biggest thing you would look at on your summary list. Under indicators, you'll see last weights and measurements. Risk legal will give you any alert level. Demographics will tell you about the patient. Contacts is where you'd find next of kin, and that's probably the most part of what you would see there. The next one we're going to take a look at is vital signs, and what you will see here are the vital signs entered with the date and time of the entry. Because that's yellow up there at the top of that column, you can actually see the entire snapshot of what was documented at that time. So if we click on that 1221, you can see here's everything that was documented at that time. You see your normal reference ranges. This is a high, it's highlighted. To get out of this view, you go to back. The other thing you'll notice are the row names are yellow. So that means if I click on the word temperature, I can get a history of all the temperatures on that patient. We would get back to where we were by clicking back. So any of these you could track a snapshot of. Then after vital signs, we have intake and output. And this is what's been recorded, and we are looking at a 24-hour record. If you wanted to look at 6 hours or 1 hour, you could spread it out a little further. As you do that, there's a urine output, which if the weight has been entered and the patient has voided, will actually give you the mils per kilogram per hour. Right now in an hour view, if I change it to every 4 hours, you'll notice math changes. You will see intake totals, output totals, what the balance is. So you can see what's been documented on our patient. And if you remember, we flushed the IV this morning when we first got our patient. So there's that 5 mLs that came over from first IV assessment. So then let's move down to laboratory. And what you see here are right now hematology, and in this case CBCs, that have been entered on this patient, but I don't remember the normal ranges. Just like with vitals, I can click on the date and time, and I get a snapshot with reference ranges. Let's go back. If I wanted to track my patient hemoglobin or something over time, I could do the same thing by clicking on hemoglobin. Blood gases are available here, so you can see those. A critical lab value would look at it's red rather than a out of range lab value. Here's chemistries. So you can see here, and it would work the same way. You could hit the top part. You could also track one item out of here if you wanted to. And the nice thing about this also is if the patient has been here before and Phil hasn't. Remember, we just had one visit. But if he had, we could switch our view to lifetime summary and compare the current CBC to the last visit. That's a rather nice resource as well. Microbiology would be these kind of tests, and in order to read the results, like here's a urine culture, you can click on the report grid and be able to read the results. And you can't see it off the screen, but there's just either a return or an X out to get back. Again, you can compare to lifetime summary. Blood banks grayed out, but in there you could find what tests have been done, a summary of the number of products a patient has had, and then the actual transfusions they've gotten this visit. It tells you whether or not there's been a transfusion reaction, and if there has, you can read the record of it. Pathology works similarly to microbiology in that there's a report grid kind of a thing. If we click on imaging, this will give you whatever has been done this visit. And again, you can compare to lifetime. If there's a report, you can click on the comment bubble for those signed reports. The image where there's a camera, I could click on, for instance, this foot x-ray, and would actually open up a view of the foot x-ray. Once you open up, say, this first report on an ultrasound, by clicking on the comment bubble, you see the whole report. When you return or X out of it and you come back, you can see there's a green check mark which says you've viewed this already. So if you're comparing 3 or 4 like chest films, you can keep track of where you are. That also works in progress notes. Again, you could look at the last admits ultrasound, just compare it. Okay, we had skipped some as we went through here, so let's go back up to notes. Here's where if you want to sort by care coordinator, that'll let you bring up case manager. That's what CM is. Other therapies, interpreters, you might see social services, nutrition. Here's our education. Moving down to other reports from notes, you see here these are more procedural, progress notes, consultations, etc. So when you view all reports, you click the report header, you can actually put it in alphabetical order with the most current note at the top chronologically. There's the latest H&P, progress notes, there are mental health, social work notes, those type of things. You can also sort by, I want to see psychosocial, I want to see surgery, I want to see bronchoscopy, rehab, emergency, or back to all in the alphabetical order. So now on these, let's go down and look at an H&P. We have a signed H&P here. We come across and we click on the comment bubble for a report. It will then actually open up that report. Once you're done viewing it and you hit return, when you come back, again, there's a green check mark so you can keep track if you're reading through, for instance, progress notes or procedural notes. Now let's go back up and let's view medications. Currently, it defaults to all active medications. You can look at discontinued, you can look at all. And so you will see the medications listed here. If they've been given, you will see a column that actually gives you when they were actually given. Order history allows you to see all the orders for the patient from admission. They automatically sort by order date and time, so the most current will be up here at the top. So then our last two to really look at are care trends and care activity. So let's look at care trends first. This takes and puts notes into systems. So for instance, if I wanted to track pain scores, etc., I could view pain. It would give me the ability to use the head of the column to snapshot, or I could look at the pain score if I clicked on that, but this is somewhat limited in the material you see. So then the other view you can go to is care activity. When you go to care activity, it defaults to assessments and the last 3 things that were charted. So for us on our patient, that was hand hygiene, daily ongoing, the IV spreadsheet. Then down below that, you'll see a list of the other things that have been charted on this patient. So let's go up and let's look at the actual daily ongoing education. There's your assessment that you filled out for that patient. And then wherever you see a plus, that will tell you more information. So that was mother's. Then here's father's assessment, and you can see also parents' involvement. Here's our IV spreadsheet interventions. Now, if I want to see something else, in order to open these up, and you can only open 3 at a time, you right-click on, let's do physical assessment, let's do vital signs, pediatric admission database. Then we come down and we click display, and now your physical assessment that you charted is found in here. Again, if you click pluses, you will see whatever else was charted there. And you remember we linked a note, so we would see that note linked to this. Then the vital signs, here's the vitals we entered and your ability to compare. Now, we didn't enter this, but the pediatric admission database is what's done on admit, so it gives you information about various items. When you see the comment bubbles, there's more information and on down. So you can do that for any of the things that are here. So that's care activity. That gives you a little more under assessments. Outcomes is where you'd see completed outcomes from the care plan. And if you click on plan of care and you want to see the asthma plan of care for this patient, you click on the word asthma, then you use the magnifying glass up here at the top to make it large enough to see. And what this is you will see each problem on the asthma care plan, what the outcome is and what the interventions are. And then you'll see what the status is. So risk for impaired gas exchange is I for inactive. But if we scroll down, there's actual impaired gas exchange. It's active. It may actually show what might have been changed in the text on the related to as evidenced by. Here's all of your interventions, and if you could see a little longer beyond the screen, you would actually see whether they're active or inactive and who did them. There's risk for fluid imbalance, that's active, and on through the care plan. So this is an easiest way to view the care plan. So now to get out of this, you're going to use the upper right corner X again, which is off screen. So that takes you through care activities, and that concludes the EMR coverage. To get back to your status board or interventions list, you use the return button at the top, and we are back wherever you left to go into the EMR.